All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Heroes of the Storm Fall Regionals number 2. We're here to determine who's going to make sure to advance to BlizzCon as well. And we've seen plenty of cool best-of-3s today already, but we're not done just yet. We're going to continue things, of course, with the first game in the lower bracket between ePunks and 2Bs. Keep in mind, guys, that the loser of this best-of-3 is out of the tournament. No more chances to get to BlizzCon. Feels bad, man.
And guys, we're seeing Battlefield of Eternity as the first map today, and I'm kind of curious because ADRD has already thrown a whole bunch of crazy stuff out there. I want to see what he has. I don't even care if they win or lose. I just want to see what he has to throw on the table.
I think he has like a notebook with check marks. Like, he's just got all these boxes.
Bucket list.
Played Medivh, tried Lily as a mainstream support pick again.
Yeah, but the bucket list experiencing is going to be cut short if they don't find any success here. So hopefully something better than the Medivh using a portal forward and tickling the warrior into portal backwards is going to be used here.
It works on ladder, man.
And on the flip side, guys, we of course have the German local team known as ePunks. I mean, they didn't really look super convincing in their first best-of-3, but we all know how strong this team can really be. And to have another look at their preparation for Gamescom, of course, on their home turf tournament, if you will, we're going to take a look to see how that went.
After qualifying for DreamHack Valencia, the ePunks ran into some bad luck as one of their players suffered a wrist injury before the start of the tournament, forcing the team to play with a last-minute substitute player. The disappointment after not making it out of the group stage only refueled the team's motivation to compete on the big stage again and led to them qualifying once more for the European Regional Final. With Nande rejoining the team for the Heroes of the Storm tournament at Gamescom, the ePunks are now eager to finally show their true strength and to go up against the best teams in Europe.
All right, everything's on the line for both of those teams, 2Bs and ePunks. Both want to make sure to finally establish themselves like as a strong team in Europe to be counted at. I mean, that's the last chance to make it to BlizzCon potentially. And guys, there's a lot of weight on their shoulders because, let's be honest, most of those players aren't really as familiar when it comes to offline tournaments as others like Dignitas or Fanatics, for example.
The thing about them is that when I look at their team and I look at their players individually, I feel like this team has the most potential outside of the top 3 or 4. Like, I feel like their future is bright, but they have to start sometime. Yes. They finished 7th, 8th, they had the sub, we understand what went wrong there. But individually, when I look at their team, I really feel like if they stay together and they continue to perform, I honestly feel like they have a really bright future.
I absolutely agree, and it feels like they show good things, but usually it's not enough. Even that first game that they played earlier against Team Dignitas, I really think that they were in a good position when they got the curse and all that. It's just what followed that wasn't good enough. They need more experience, but they don't really have time to get it right now. Like, this is the one match where they need to keep on winning.
Yeah, and without further ado, guys, we're going to kick the gas pedal a little bit and put it down to the metal, and we're going to show you guys what the first pick and ban phase is going to look like. It's going to be very interesting because, as we said earlier, both of those teams are roughly at the same skill level, so we can expect crazy things, especially when you have ADRD in a series, Grubby.
Yeah, I mean, Medivh has been alluded to ever since he came out. We've never seen him yet. He's supposedly a fear factor privately. All these teams, strange as it seems, they don't have a lot to pick from. They practice with each other. And so they know all these things about each other. Medivh, Tyrael, these are 2 big threats coming from 2Bs. And there you go. We will not see that coming out. Even though his win rate so far is 0%, no. No 50%.
It's going to stay that way.
Certainly no 66.
You know, one of the things with the rework on Zagara, it's something that we talked to the EU guys about a little bit, was the volatile acid at level 1, where you get that extra range on the Bane lane. And when it comes to poke battles, Zagara, this might not be our best map, except when you start to get into that poke war. And I kind of like the Zagara ban. I think there's a lot that plays in here. But first, pick Tyrael. Guys, when we had TBD up here before, we talked about how they like to go in with a Tyrael Kerrigan style. I wonder if on this map it's something that we're still going to see, and I wonder if that's something that ePunks is prepared for.
Basically, Battlefield of Eternity sometimes has its own rules when it comes to how the map is played. I mean, something like a Greymane or an Abathur is definitely not out of the ordinary, so we can definitely expect some of the teams maybe stepping up their game and changing up their drafting style.
Well, Kendrick, I've seen beautiful Greymane Aber combinations. They're definitely one of the most lethal combinations in the game. But every time I've seen an Abathur on Battlefield of Eternity recently, it's been like a 6-minute game in favor of the other team, who will have something like Sylvanas.
Hey,
He wasn't looking at the stream, guys. I was looking at Grubby and he was looking away, so good call.
Grubby
on this
basically
one.
no-scoped that one.
I mean, if you want to have a sub 10-minute game, you have to have Sylvanas on your team.
It was a 90 degrees no-scope, though. I was looking at Kendrick's screen as a prop. No, of course, it's a very powerful pick here. Greymane could be a great one to go along with it, just because of the amount of pressure he puts on the Immortal, one of the highest DPS in the game.
Yeah. And when he's in Worgen form, he puts out so much damage.
Whoa!
Oh.
That
Technically, amateur opponent.
No.
Oh, you can't do that to our hearts.
The thing
I
is,
like
right,
Artanis on
as
this
cool
map.
as he is, if you quick match into this map with Artanis, yes, you're going to take amateur opponent. It's amazing. But the DPS isn't higher than Greymane. That's the funny thing. We can wax lovingly all we want about that talent. Once it comes down to the numbers, Artanis
There it is.
flunks. He's a C-.
And
There's
look at
the
him there.
Kerrigan.
Love it.
I was gonna ask you guys, what do you think is gonna be the crazy pick here on this map? I don't think Kerrigan is the super crazy one.
I honestly feel like they could go Greymane here if they want to get like crazy, like I want to do a bunch of damage and I've got Tyrael and Kerrigan to lead the way.
All dive
and
no
then
support.
Why not, right? Kick it old school, go Bloodlust, just bring in Rhaegar.
You know what my mama used to say, crazy is as crazy does. It was possible.
Something we should also maybe touch on is basically...
Don't touch my... All right. Yeah.
Is Tracer. She's known for being the flagship hero coming out of ePunks. However, on Battlefield of Eternity, guys, would you say that she is still as viable as she is on other battlegrounds?
It's pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
You take Tracer rounds, you remove a lot of the smoke screen value of actually going away. You keep the vision. You can flank opponents because it's kind of a 360 map. You can fully rotate around the Immortal, assail your opponents from any side, and she's a master flanker.
So there is a chance for a ban, actually. Like, and especially like if you look at the composition from 2Bs here. Against that, I don't particularly feel like Tracer will be bad. If she reaches the backline, it's going to blow up Liming very fast. So a ban here is very likely. Tyrande being banned here, they want to make sure that they don't let that synergize with the Kerrigan. Or even like on this map, you know, you can burst down the these Immortals very, very fast. And, yeah,
2Bs said no. Not gonna happen.
While you guys were theorizing, I just kept thinking, well, it's nice discussion, but it's gonna be a ban. And surely enough, there it is.
It's true enough. I mean, she's great against mages who require skill shots like Liming. She can dodge every Kerrigan combo. So Easy choice.
So there we go. What is left for ePunks to pick? They could go for a support.
I feel like they're definitely going to get Rhaegar this rotation.
Yeah.
Rhaegar's their most highly prioritized support. This is a good place to pick him up, but it's also a way... Will they be going double warrior? There's the Rhaegar pick.
Yo, guys, where's Greymane? Like, are you kidding me right now? None of the teams even trying to go for it. It's not banned.
He's an okay pick now. You would save your warrior for last if you want another warrior. It's possible.
Right.
Sonya. Blade plays Sonya. We don't have a ton of information on Blade in particular, but Sonya is his second most played hero. Sometimes it works on this. He can pair really well on the front line to help mitigate a lot, especially when you're up there with Arthas. I do worry up against the Kerrigan, though.
Would Illidan be completely crazy here?
I was thinking it. I didn't want to be the one to say it. I didn't want to be the one to say it, and
because it makes you look dumb, or
because it could be crazy. But it would have to be a last pick scenario, depending on what 2Bs went. They have the last pick, so they could pick a safer pick. They could either go a warrior, they could go some type of burst damage. They go with ETC. I don't see Illidan because I don't think there's enough for him to follow up on.
Yeah, Muradin was available as well here too.
Kael'thas is going to be available. I wouldn't be surprised if Kael'thas is going to be the last pick for ePunks, but we still have 2 more picks for TBD. But I really feel Kael'thas has got to be.
I mean, Kael'thas...
he's not my #1 pick.
No.
If I already have, I mean, for either team.
No, I
really.
mean for ePunks.
Oh yeah, that's possible.
False is still available, although, funnily enough, Battlefield of Eternity is probably one of the few maps or
Tychus.
battlegrounds where he doesn't really excel. And Tychus, on the other hand, strong single target DPS, especially the Draken Laser Drill later on, can really help you out in securing you those
Got
immortals.
the grenades to cancel Mosh Pit as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely.
Double warrior,
really
minigun,
like that.
does percentage damage. They needed a giant killer of some sort. They only had a few options. Tychus is the best.
What support here, you guys think?
I like AoE supports. You can also go double invulnerability, Tyrael and Uther, but generally like Karazim works pretty well with this.
Yeah.
Okay, if they go Uther
Whoa.
or Brightwing, I was going to say that we could possibly see a Lunara on this side for a little bit of poke plus that extra immortal damage. I honestly feel like it's going to be between one of those two to kind of round this out. They need some damage. They need somebody that can help sustain on the immortal because Sylvanas isn't going to be enough. You're not going to get enough out of Arthas and ETC. You're not going to win the battle there. So you got to bring in somebody that can be a heavy hitter. If they go Greymane, I wouldn't be surprised in that at all.
Yeah.
I just feel like they need something from that back line.
Well, what's
Yeah.
Greymane's win rate so far in this tournament? Because the only picture I got in my head was the Snitch one. That's
It's actually been neglected for the most part, I might want to say. Like, we don't see Greymane nearly as often as we used to.
Kind of forgot about that guy.
yeah. How did that happen? Actually, he was still in there, available the whole time. Sometimes first picked, actually quite often.
I'm so used to him being banned out that it's just like, all right, I don't even pretend that Falstad's last pick material.
All right, guys. So, Falstad being picked up last for the ePunks. I mean, they do have significant damage, but they really have a strong front line at that. Arthas ETC. I really think that they, especially if they get into a scenario where they defend their immortal, they can really do that very efficiently.
Yeah, and Falstad actually could come in really handy with the Gust here.
Yeah,
if you look
absolutely.
at both compositions, you know, we were talking a lot about the dive potential that you have from Kerrigan and all of that. That guy's going to be really good to negate all that. You know, if they are about to get an immortal and they're being attacked into, they can make sure that they can secure that and all that. So, really good draft here from both teams, and I'm liking it.
I mean, after all, it's also the first time that we see two teams play on Battlefield of Eternity, so there is a certain spiciness to it.
I think the fact that Sylvanas was first pick and then the draft still played out the way it did, I think it's got to lend to the side of ePunks, but I just worry that they're not going to have enough damage when we look at the two teams matching up when they get to the Immortal phase. And think about it, the first Immortals are fairly predictable. After that, it's full RNG. You don't know. And it's a matter of if it's favorable for TBD in positioning, they're going to win the race. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I think 2Bs does have the better trade. It's going to be a little bit difficult for 2Bs to engage into the opponent. The strongest point for ePunks seems to be the defense with the double warriors. If you Kerrigan jump into the opponent's immortal, there's always a chance that either you or your follow-up gets stunned or at least zoned out by the circular stuns of the boss. So
Feels like Kerrigan's performance is going to be key here in the success.
it's all about like Kerrigan versus Gust and all the stunts, and then can Tyrael save the people from the Gust through the stunts.
It's funny, though, because one of the most feared combos of Hero League, for example, that Kerrigan Uther has never been seen yet in this tournament. Grubby, what do you make of this?
I mean, even if you do Kerrigan and you Divine Shield her prematurely, you do the combination, if the entire allied team gets gusted away, you're still nowhere.
You're basically isolated.
Yeah, it's you, like, because of the Divine Shield, you are completely alone. Like, it's even better to just fly along with your team. So that is a risk. And as J.I. was saying, what if Lunara is suddenly the final pick?
Yeah.
Now you've got an Uther against poison damage on the entire team, and that's just difficult to deal
Let me
with.
summarize what Grubby just said. This is not Hero League.
It keeps being shown to us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In every game, it's not Hero League.
But
People
it's really
work
good
together.
for players out there to sort of consider their own picks in the future, right? Especially if they play Team League, for example. I mean, where coordination normally is a little bit better and a little bit higher. But ePunks, we see them on your screen right now. They are here to prove that they still have what it takes to finally emerge from the lesser-known teams, if you will. And they really want to make a stand here, especially in front of the home crowd here in Cologne, Germany. I'm pretty sure that will give them like a massive motivation boost.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, even like any professional athlete, including professional esporters, they have a certain mechanical skill. It's going to be similar to your peers, but it's very mental, the game.
Yeah.
So it is very important to feel comfortable, and they're in the home country.
All right, but without further ado, let's actually jump into this fourth best of three that we're showing to you guys today from Gamescom Cologne. Your casters are going to be none other than Kalaris and Kaldor.
The ePunks are going up against the determined Bees, and it is the last chance for the two teams to make it out of the group here. Of course, they have to progress to the consolation match first, but this is literally the last opportunity for one of those two teams to make it out of this. It's not going to be easy. The German team has struggled a little bit, and they were very disappointed with their performance there. Do you think they have what it takes to take down the mad scientist and his team?
Maybe. I'm still in the camp of the TBDs, I gotta say though. Overall, I like how they approach drafts because you never know what you're gonna get from them, and that really throws a big spanner in the works.
You could really see that a lot of the bans were targeted against ADRD's team, especially that Tyrande ban, of course. It's one of the strategies that they've been running for a long time on Battlefield of Eternity, to go into that Kerrigan with a Tyrande, with that Tyrael. So a very smart move on the side of the ePunks. But yeah, this game is, of course, going to set the pace for the rest of the series. Battlefield of Eternity, interesting map to start things off with, especially since we don't even have a Greyman here.
You're right, it didn't even get through, and Falstad was last pick of all things. But anyway, going into game number 1 now here in our consolation match to see who will move on to the final series of the day here in Group A. As to the left-hand side, we have ePunks with Nanda playing Arthas, Chrisplosion playing ETC, Nick on Sylvanas, Wolf Joe on Rhaegar, and Raid Boss will be on Falstad.
And the Bees, they play with Li Ming, played by Nasty, a Bad Benny as Ontario at the front line, ADRD on Tychus this time, Kerrigan played by Blade, and Curson on Brightwing. Heading into the match now. It's going to be a great series here for sure. Both of the teams have already shown some very interesting play in their earlier matches, and I expect actually that we might see 3 games out of this.
Yeah, we definitely could. There is that potential. They seem pretty evenly matched, I would say. What do we know the full map pool? I can't quite remember. Do you remember?
I actually don't know what the rest of the maps are. I don't really think that we got a notification about that.
I think that might be a defining factor as well, coming forwards.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the talents here as we are starting the game off. Li Ming already starting things with the Ether Walk, already indicating that she's going to go into Calamity on level 7 to get some additional pressure against the Immortal. When you play on Battlefield of Eternity, there's of course a couple of ways how you can approach the map. You can go into a potential like teamfight composition, which is kind of what the Bees are doing here right now, whereas the ePunks definitely have a lot of poke potential as well now with their setup. So both of the teams actually have quite a bit of that, but that Sylvanas can be the deciding factor on the map where the objective is of course pushing in form of an Immortal.
Yeah, always nice to see sharpened blades coming out from Kerrigan, especially since on this map, like, what are you actually jumping to, you know? There's not really much to jump to, like in terms of small minions to clean up, etc. So just make yourself a bit more hardy in those battles, like you were mentioning, is very important.
For now, we have both of the teams just like... well, the first thing that you have to do against Sylvanas is you have to kind of split your team a little bit so that you can react if your opponent is trying to burst down a few towers at the beginning of the game, that you can have a quick rotation going. For now, the ePunks actually don't even attempt to set that up. They have 3 heroes up down to the bot lane. Sylvanas is up at the top together with an ETC. Not really the normal split that we see on the map, but they can now also still start to rotate False around. And ETC is, of course, currently kind of in a position where he just wants to trap Tychus.
It makes me think, did they ever see ETC move up to that location? Because ADRD is playing that very, very safe with Sylvanas laying all the way in wait. So maybe they don't know ETC even moved up there, but now they do. He moves out of that shrubbery and will reveal himself. So, although that is a big rotation through mid at the moment.
Yeah, ADRD in this case was actually just like playing it super safe. He never saw where ETC exactly was going, so he was just like, well, there's a good chance that he's trying to trap me, so let's just be safe for now. Never even attack and just stay on mount. And now the Immortal in the game. Both of the teams are already looking for a bit of a fight here. And, well, the Bees are actually attempting to defend, at least for now.
Yeah, it seemed like a favorable trade initially there for ePunks because, thankfully for them, the Immortal popped right next to them. And at the same time, Li Ming's already going to work on the other one. They're just going to defend down towards the bottom here. Chris is under a lot of pressure, though. Even Polymorphed, he should end up dying here. It'll be difficult for him to get out, and actually, he will get away. Not even with a power slide, so... Oh, Li Ming.
And Kerrigan jumps in for the kill. They really wanted this one. They get a second one on top of it, too. Down go ETC. And Arthas, the front line is gone. Kerrigan is paying the price, but that was a great trade for them. They have the earlier level 4. They already put damage onto the Immortal thanks to Li Ming here. Yeah. Very good start for the Bees.
Yeah, that's the team coordination that you see out of them that kind of works well. You know, Li Ming could have easily just sat on the Immortal and be like, I'm getting free damage, this is great. But she rotated up, caused some pressure, and even the blades, level 1 sharpened blades, did work for Kerrigan. She caught 2 in a stun. when they were on the perimeter of it, so it was nice.
It's so frustrating if you're in ETC's position in this case. He already thought himself safe and was like, okay, good job, guys, thank you. Staying alive. Then all of a sudden, Li Ming comes in and changes the game again. But that race here, it ends in favor of the two Bs determined. TBA now with an opportunity to push a bit. Of course, for them, it's really important to win the objective, since that Sylvanas can give you so much value. And with such a heavy front line also to just protect her, this is going to be very difficult for the Bs once the ePunks start to gain some momentum.
Yeah, definitely. They definitely have power spikes. On the other side, of course, Blade taking himself Psionic Pulse at level 4. We all know how much that is able to do in terms of damage once she's able to get that grasp and hit someone. So it will start stacking up, and ePunks are having a bit of a hard time actually getting onto this Immortal.
That's just like a huge threat if you have a Kerrigan against you. Once she starts to jump in and get that combo off, if you're getting pulled into the Immortal range then as well, there is so much potential damage that you could suffer at the hands of your opponent. So ePunks is playing it extremely safe here. They lose the wall, which is actually not too bad just now. They didn't really suffer too much damage on the hands of their fort. They still had Fawcett for a long time at the bot lane, counter-soaking against Brightwing. Yeah. So there's only a small advantage in experience that we currently see for the Bees.
Yeah, it's extended a little bit more as well, because with Falstad flying up there, he did miss 2 minions. I mean, it's a small thing, but anytime you're able to just get small incremental advantages, means that you're pushing yourself onto the next talent tier all the quicker. Look at Blade waiting in the wings here, just in case Chris actually wanted to try and move in and wrestle that easy camp away, but not to be the case.
I actually like that he jumped over and started to help out just to secure the camp here once he realized that he couldn't go for a kill. Saw too many heroes around. So they grabbed the camp, well played on their part. They have now also the earlier level 7, and as expected, Calamity is taken as the talent on Nasty's Li Ming. So we are going to see a lot more damage around the Immortal thanks to the Ether Walk and Calamity and the synergy of the two.
And we have the cleanse coming in for Brightwing, so just getting him out, anybody out of those stuns, always important, ever so valuable against Mosh. Even Brightwing, you know, having multiple tools against Mosh with the Polymorph as well, and the Unstable Anomaly at level 4. I couldn't remember the second word for the life of me for a second there.
Yeah, we're talking about like the talents for a moment just there. We have also on level 1 the Combat Tactician taken for Tychus. ADRD trying to go for the cooldown reduction on the gun and run. We have with a lot of defensive talents already, heading into the Relentless Soldier on 7. So he realizes that with ETC and Arthas against him, there's a very good chance that he's actually locked down by the opponent. Oh, yeah. He's a primary target, of course, in this case. So he just wants to make sure that he has the mobility and the survivability to get out of these situations.
I think he plays the safest Tychus build in the world.
Yeah.
Like, compared to most traditional Tychus builds that you see come out, and it worked well. It worked brilliantly for them last time they were able to play Tychus. So now, just doing the poke damage where they can. They have a Li Ming. They can get away with this poke onto the Immortal.
And at some points, the ePunks will have to react to it. Yeah. Once again, Nasty is just like in the area, just trying to get that damage in. ETC with an attempt to go for Tychus, but ADRD already on the way back. Gets locked down for a moment, moves back again. Still the soak on lanes, thanks to Fawcett at the top for the ePunks, and down to the bottom of the map for TBA, or TBD, thanks to Brightwing.
Yep. Pause for a moment here. Chris just wants to sort things out, I believe, on this side of ePunks. Of course, want to be as comfortable as possible going into these situations. And the thing is that I think more so on this map than others, you get stressful situations where there are these weird, slow stalemates in the middle of the map, and as one single wrong move can mean a team's death.
Level 7 is also incredibly important when it comes to that poke battle that you were just alluding to. First of all, we have on Fawcett by now, of course, also Boomerang. And once that you're starting to get some damage stacked up on the Gathering Storm, you can really do a lot of damage with the poking here. The Barb Shot on Sylvanas is also helping you if you just manage to get the rotation towards the Immortal so that you can pressure it down really fast. Arthas, after the Biting Cold, went into the Icebound Fortitude. That is still going to be incredibly helpful for him once he ends up being the focus of Kerrigan, for example.
All right, we are back into Battlefield of Eternity here as our admins have solved the issues that Crystplosion seemed to have had. And still, we're in that position where TBD do have themselves a slight lead with the poke continuing on. But the problem is that, yeah, they can win the poke war out when it comes to against the Mortal, but it also means that they can win the poke war out when it's just coming to a straight fight. And they're exemplifying that very nicely with a push away of Arthas quite quickly.
A great rotation here. I like it a lot, but now Tyrael might be in a bit of trouble, is able to move out. Arthur's still very low here, and the teams are starting to go again into the middle of the map. Level 9 is already on the board for TBD, but here's the poke once again. Li Ming is just doing so much work on this map.
Yeah, she is, and especially with the full teleport build as well. She can keep herself alive, and that is, almost Chris going down. You could see the blink onto him to get damage from Calamity. Almost finished him off.
Tyke is moving in, dropping the grenade there. That was a close call. Chris moving away, but I'm really liking Blade's play on Karrigan right now. So he's trying to, every single time he slides in, punish him for being a little bit too far out here with a quick combo. Now, as this poke battle actually continues, the one thing that we have to highlight too is that we are heading into level 10 slowly and steadily.
It's been a long drawn-out fight, this one. For example, the Immortals haven't even relocated.
Exactly.
And they've pushed throughout a whole level, pretty much, as this goes on.
No halftime show just yet, and you can see that right now TBD is actually realizing, wait a second, guys. Level 10 is really close. Let's rotate heroes to the lanes, make sure that we get that, and then we can just like pressure and force an engagement.
And likewise, ePunks has actually rotated quite slowly in comparison now that we're looking at Falstad and Arthas moving to these lanes at the moment. So they are keeping up, of course, just bouncing back and forth a little bit, but 10's about to hit.
This is a really small timing window that we're talking about, but you can use it. Here's the halftime show, there's the level 10. Can they make a play with it? Doesn't look like they will before the opponent gets the access to the rogue abilities as well. There we have it. So ePunks actually able to close that small gap that we had, and now we have the level 10s in play.
I like how TBD were quite slow about picking the level 10s, and ePunks was like, get them as quickly as possible, just in case that
They hit 10 first. Select it fast. So for now, of course, we have Wave of Force on the side of Li Ming. Having an additional interrupt against ETC's Mosh Pit is going to be really crucial here. But they are starting to engage. They isolated Karrigan. A great play here. Incredibly well done. A massive move here from Raid Boss, getting that Mighty Gust with a perfect angle to push everybody back except Karrigan. And that silence, of course, was also spot on.
Perfect was the way to describe it. Absolutely finite execution there from them with the 3 heroics. I mean, the power slide and then Gust alone on towards one target, locking him down. ePunks tries to go for the Mosh Pit. It gets cancelled out there, and that Sanctification is doing big work along with the drill that pushed them away for a moment as well. Ancestral Heal will go on to Nanda and get rid of them for now.
Nasty with the interrupt against the Mosh Pit. When ETC ends up dying now, once again, the focus on the blue team's Immortal. It's starting to become a bit of a race, but this is not going to end well for the ePunks. They lose another Immortal. Still no Sylvanas value in this game, and this time the shields are much stronger than last time. The Bees actually in a position where they can start to push for the first fort of the game.
Exactly, walls down, so it's going to be very easy for them to try and exert pressure onto here, especially with things like a Karrigan and Tyrael that can go pretty deep in. 30 seconds on the Sanctification, of course, so there's not exactly much of a contingency plan if things go awry, but still, the Immortal, he's a beefy guy. He'll be fine pushing forwards and tanking for you.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he does. Brightwing is still up at the top, soaking some extra experience. There comes Blade, missing the combo though. Immediately the turnaround attempt against him, but already activating the Maelstrom, going straight for Arthas, jumping in. Arthas in trouble, trying to move away with Frozen Tempest here, and is able to escape as he gets constant heals from Rhaegar, but that still was a close call on his part.
Yeah, Blade didn't look for many more jumps forwards there. He could have tried to go for it, but he was a little bit apprehensive about trying, because there is the potential that ePunks turn around. Now he goes for it and completely whiffs that one on towards Chris. Tyrael just kind of dies for his sins, if he has any, being an angel.
Yeah. Tyrael definitely dying in this case there, so, well, not much justice in this call. Up to the top lane, we are seeing Falstad rotate to soak the experience, but I mean, they still ended up with a really decent trade. They get the fort, they get a couple of the towers. Tyrael, you can question if he really had to die there, if they could have moved back a bit faster. Overall, though, still the lead for TBD in this case, and they will also get access to level 13 talents quite a bit faster than their opponents.
Yeah, just taking the easy camp, doing all right. They're in a position where they do have to come back quite significantly, but TBD here just kind of playing it chill, blink away, and no catch.
That's a beautiful thing about having a Sylvanas, though. You are always able to make a massive comeback, and they haven't lost the keep yet. But if they win an Immortal, there's a good chance that they can actually push through towards the keep immediately.
Yeah, the Sylvanas is a big game changer here, right? It's very, very powerful. Falstad's just soaking up towards the top at the moment. They are taking as many camps as possible, but TBD is sniffing this one out, and it's not easy to take, especially since tier 13 talents have just popped up here.
Yep. And with that, we're also now seeing again the imposing will. We have the illusionist, which gives a little bit more safety also to Li Ming. The shield dust and the spray and pray for the range. We've been talking about like the safe style on the side of ADRD, and now he goes for the range increase, which kind of synergizes, of course, with this level 1 cooldown reduction too. So
yeah, he's doing all right for himself. The funny thing is overall is that Nasty, I mean, the teleport build has always been just super common on this map because you know there's going to be so much brawling. You know you want to get poke and then be safe. So it's really nice to see.
Spray and pray, of course, increasing the overkills range, not the auto attacks, in my bad. That has no synergy with the level 1 talent. He still gets the cooldown reduction there, but not from that ability in particular. Here comes the Mighty Gust again as it is engaged, as Wolf Joe was in trouble. A slight lead this time for the ePunks when it comes to the mortal damage, but they find themselves on the way back again, and Rega had to use his Ancestral early on, as all of a sudden Falson is being attacked, Li Ming hitting the combo there, and they have to retreat.
ADRD triggered his trade there at just the perfect moment. He absolutely minced Chris up there, so had to be super careful about going into that engagement. Thankfully, they do have 2 warriors, so while ETC was away for a moment, they still have Arthas there to help out. And Raid Boss back in the fray, back in the action.
There is a camp at the top lane that does massive damage already, and I mean, eventually that shaman is going to fall, but there's huge pressure at the fort, and down here the situation isn't looking any better. There's the sanctification. Once again, ETC is falling. There comes the drill, and immediately they're going for another immortal here. They will reach the halftime show without any trouble whatsoever, and it's still a 5 versus 4, Calaris.
The call from TBD to just instantly blow up ETC under that sanctification was just brutal. He went from 100 to 0 very, very fast. So great coordination coming out of TBD. And as you say, look how easily they secure that.
This is a great map for TBD. They are really strong here. Their favorite maps is still Infernal Shrines, but it's still a very good map or battleground for them too. And it just shows. That's nearly 100% shield immortal that they're currently running here. They're going to get that fort at the top lane without any problem whatsoever. Probably even before that immortal is moving on lane, at least if they commit to it. And then they will aim for the keep. They are looking extremely strong.
I mean, I'll still, Benny, if he does die, that's a bit of a pain. He's going to get away. He's going to get away. And they get forced out of the back of it. This is a nightmare disaster piece here for ePunks. The thing is that if TBD were in the other group, I think they'd advance onto the top 4. Because I think they're really, really good. But they're in a group with, well, now Fnatic. So it's going to be difficult. But at the moment, they're doing so well in this game.
And ePunks, I mean, if they kill Tyrael here, you know, they have a 5 versus 4. They have a numeric advantage that they can use to defend against the Immortal. Yeah. But now they are down a hero. And it's actually the hero with the Mighty Gust. So they will suffer even more damage. It's level 50, nearly 16. It's insane. Like, they are so far ahead right now.
In the past 10, 15 seconds, they didn't do a single bit of damage to that Immortal. Just small chipping damage here and there. Chris Blosian's gone in quite far, though, and that's going to be the Gust against them. But they don't even use the they don't even capitalize on any engagement potential. They just want to damage onto the Immortal, but they still have to pop the Ancestral on Lander that goes far forwards.
And there's the keep. There's the drill again. Here comes the mosh pit. This time there's no immediate interrupt. Well done here. There was still a cooldown on the wave of force. Now the resets are starting to kick in. Arthas down, ETC down. They trade for only Tychus. It's again a trade in their favor. They have level 16. They took the keep. Is there anything that the ePunks can do right now to really turn this around?
I don't know. I don't think so. They didn't even have the damage follow-up on towards that mosh pit there. So as soon as I saw that mosh go down, I said, this isn't going to work because they just weren't in the right positions to capitalize on it. So it's difficult because now you've got against Tyrael that's going to have Holy Ground. You're going up against a defensive Li Ming that just picked up Mirror Ball for extra damage.
There's so much pressure on ETC overall. You can see that Chris Explosion with the positioning that he currently has, it's not really working out for them. They're eating too much damage before the fight even starts, and then an ETC with half HP is looking for a mosh pit opportunity that either is interrupted by Li Ming or he's bursted down right away without really doing too much for his team. So this setup is not working out for them. They find themselves 2 levels behind, a talent behind, and at this point, TBD is just painting the map red, taking camp after camp, and just dominates everything.
I mean, TBD, in my opinion, right now, could walk to their hard camp, take it without many problems at all. Because they have Holy Ground, because they have Sanctification and Wave of Force.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why on earth not?
They are going straight for it. I mean, there's absolutely no reason to not take this one away. They can still take their own one if they actually like hurry. I doubt that they're going to do it, considering that there's only 14 seconds there, but indeed they could. And at this point, just look at the ePunks. They are sitting there like beaten dogs. They're just like, they can't move out. They need to soak. They need to depush. There's the double camp at the bot lane. And in the middle of the map, the Immortal spawns, and TBD just says, thank you, we're going to start without you.
The funny thing is that they probably could have hit, like, they could have got their own hard camp as well and actually got a window where, yeah, they wouldn't have done much instant damage to the Immortal, but they would have then put so much pressure on the lane that it would have been strong.
This is the moment where the ePunks have to win the big fight. If they can take down Karrigan, that would be a good start. But they are about to lose again. Arthas, the Ancestral hits too late. Arthas is not alive long enough. Down goes ETC, the front line obliterated. 9 kills against 4. This was their one shot to turn the game around on even talents, and it failed miserably.
That Ancestral was literally not even half a second, a millisecond off proccing on towards Arthas. Could have turned things around, but not to be. They are steamrolling this game.
Also, Tyrael again with the plays here. Great isolation of Rhaegar, making sure that he just cuts off his path of retreat with his Eldruin's Might, using the hole and round here, of course. It was absolutely exceptional. 3 kills against them. They're going once more for the Immortal. We always talk about Sylvanas, how much value she gives you with a Punisher, with an Immortal. It doesn't really matter with a Dragon Knight, you name it. And in this game, she didn't do a thing. She had no value whatsoever because they never had a chance to push with an objective or even without it.
Also important to note that on the Arthas kill that kind of spirals out of control from that point, he didn't use Icebound Fortitude. So if...
He didn't?
No, he didn't use Icebound Fortitude, I just checked. So if he had, then he would have definitely survived and had the Ancestral actually land. So a little bit of a slip-up, I suppose, on their side.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's really the biggest strength of the talent that you can negate so much of the damage here. And as you said already earlier, that Ancestor just, like, barely didn't hit. So with Icebound Fortitude, that would have definitely been a thing. Here we go, this is it. But again, that mosh pit not hitting anybody and being interrupted regardless. There's the kill against Arthas again. These tanks are more dead than alive throughout this game. They go for Rhaegar, he survives, but ETC, guess what? He's dead again, and they finish off Rhaegar too. They go for Volstead. It's only Sylvanas that's left alive.
I like how he tried to use Wave of Force to then push him into his missiles that would have avoided the gate, which was quite cute there for a moment. And to note, in that one where Arthas was Ancestral healed, he did use Icebound Fortitude.
It's 6 deaths on ETC, 4 on Arthas. They take the game 20 versus 17, a 3-level lead, 15 kills against 4. 2Bs determined without any problem whatsoever. Take the 1-0 lead in the best of 3 series here at the losers match.
It was a strong showing out of them to begin things here for TBD. They had, the cool thing is when you go into a draft against them and you've instilled fear in a team like you did against ePunks, just for them to ban out Medivh straight away, of course it's strong with the models anyway, but you already get given everything else around it that you want.
Look how giddy Curson is here. That smug smile that he had at the end of the game is like, oh yeah, that's how you do it.
It was strong, man. I'm not surprised that they look confident after that one.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great game on their part, and the ePunks just never found their rhythm, and that was a problem that they had in the first best of 3 series already. And they said afterwards, yeah, this is not really us. We can play much better than that, and we are going to make it into the consolation match. And if they still plan on doing that, they have to really step up their game.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think, if I recall, our second map is going to be Cursed, and then our third will be Towers of Doom, if we do need it. I'll check that in just a little bit, of course. But for now, TBD with the 1-0 lead, and it is over to the analysis desk to find out what they think about Game number 1 on Battlefield of Eternity.
It's okay. All right, thank you very much, boys. And Todd magically turned into an American, a very handsome American at that. So welcome back, Dreadnought. How's it going?
I thought it was
me?
How did... I thought it was frogs, toads, that turned into something else, not Todd.
Oh,
but there we go.
I didn't even consider that, Grubby. That is next level.
So, Kendrick, how did you turn Toad into Dread? How does that work in the fairy tales again? Moving on.
I'm not going to continue this any further. I'm not falling for your shenanigans here, Grubby.
Moving on.
Moving on. All right, guys. We're going to pick up the pace here a little bit and start instantly with that replay, Jayon, because I'm pretty sure you're going to let us know what happened in that game.
I mean, before we started the day, when we talked about
In our
ePunks, we talked about their
constellation match,
basic
see
death
who's move
ball
on.
combo where they're going to go in with Tyrael and Kerrigan. But you can see the aggression coming out from ePunks was where it was at here. But they turned that aggression against them, as you see Kerrigan was able to stay alive. And then the minute they get that, but they continue their assault because they have the team to do that. The Eldruin's going in. But guys, I want to talk about Bad Benny, because not only did he just help make plays there, but watch as he rotates over to the left. He has holy ground at this point. He's going to go ahead and throw it down. And Rhaegar, all of a sudden, this turns from something that you could salvage with 3 heroes to, well, down goes Rhaegar, and 3 heroes were going down. So Bad Benny made a lot of really good plays on Tyrael.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Kalaris mentioned, ePunks have to step it up, like by a large margin, because that was not convincing at all. I mean, they might be a little bit nervous to play in front of their home crowd, but that is not an excuse, I think, because we really expected more from these strong individual players who just can't really make it work as a team so far in this tournament.
I think the first step for that is going to be taking away the death ball. Yeah. It is almost all that we've seen really out of their playstyle, that they need to be worried about kind of denying that from their opponents here, and then worry about building their own game around that after that. I think it wasn't that bad, honestly. I feel like their composition was a little bit lackluster here and there, but for the most part, again, it's just you give your opponent what they're known for, and you're going to have a bad time. Like, it even happens at the higher level, right? They're so good for a reason on that character.
And guys, the cards are going to be shuffled anew here in this second match, of course. Battleground is going to be Tomb of the Spider Queen, so a lot of early game rotations. Wave clear is of the essence, guys. Do you think that we're going to see, like, much more, like maybe even a hidden gem like Zul popping up here? I mean, it's still possible, isn't it?
I think Zul is possible, just not here. But what we saw before from TBD was the fact that they went Medivh here. Medivh was a first ban by ePunks last time. Now, obviously, TBD is going to fall into this weird first 2 picks. Is it
I
something
still hope they're going to pick Zul now.
If they pick Zul, I will rejoice that you hasn't forgotten about him.
The Leoric play. It's everything here.
Next hero in line, by the way, Johanna.
Leoric Johanna.
We haven't seen her at all.
Back to 2013. Wait, not that far back. Fast forward a bit again. Yeah, these 2 warriors used to be like an instant win on Infernal Shrines and Tomb. They're wave clear.
Leading into a possible Tracer?
Oh, it's one of our weaker maps on the map
is.
Control that they already have on the side of 2Bs. It's scary.
First pick Tassadar, just I'm not.
They do it.
Got him.
Bam. Nice.
A first pick Tassadar on this lends more towards Tracer than somebody like Illidan, and really nobody else.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree with
Leoric, but it's denied.
Right,
So, yeah.
I agree with you, Dread, that this is definitely not one of her better maps. I feel like she needs room to work or have different terrain to work around.
So when we see this, guys, on the side of ePunks, they pick Tyrael, they've got a Tassadar. Do they even need another full support, or do you think that Tassadar alone and maybe the Tyrael shields are going to be enough for Tracer?
It depends on the final 2. If they can take care of themselves, no. If they are someone very needy, for example, Greymane, then maybe yes. Because they're going to need some heals then. But if it's like a Thrall, who, by the way, we haven't really seen yet.
There are so many heroes here at Gamescom that have not popped up at all.
Yep, that's true.
Dread, I want to talk to you real quick about the support for TBD. It's something that we saw in the North American scene a little bit, was drafting somebody like a Brightwing to be able to deal with that, and possibly an ETC. So you polymorph, then you have the power slide, and you just turn and blow her up. Do you think with TBD, they have already got Leoric, this is TBD that we're talking about. Brightwing is Cursen's second most played support. I'm just curious if that's going to fall into their draft here.
Well, if I had to mention 3 main counters for Tracer, Brightwing, probably in the top 3. Possibly Greymane. He's not very skill shot based, and he's got a good auto attack, and he can jump on her to finish her. And then, Raynor not bad, but not good enough in the current meta to actually make an appearance.
So what's your third? That was your third?
No, I usually say one more, and I hope that I think of it on the way. Or that you could come up with one.
It is Tomb, which lends towards a little bit season marks. I really doubt we'll see Raynor, but I think the poke that you can get on somebody like Tracer actually is decent.
There's no way they don't ban Lunara, I feel like, in this situation.
Lunara plus Sylve is the ultimate.
It's a lot of map control focus, but again, ePunks has got such a team fight oriented composition, and Lunara is one of the few that can actually punish the Tracer pretty hard in a lot of situations with the amount of dot that she can provide onto her, and it's not like skill shot dependent in a lot of situations. They ban out the ETC.
I like the ETC ban because you can turn on a Tracer. You can turn on a Tracer and get the power slide. If you get any type of crowd control, you follow up.
Yeah.
I think
It's
that's
an easy
the main
skill
reason.
shot
Yeah,
to
it's
hit.
very easy.
Didn't know that Tracer's favorite dish was beef.
It's not.
Oh my goodness.
What?
Whoa! That is amazing.
Well,
Can we basically confirm that before we go
He's
all
like, wait a minute,
bananas
guys,
about
is
it?
that right? Did we just do that?
That's amazing. Just instantly. Oh man, so the choke off.
let's talk about his bonuses. He doesn't easily die to Tracer. There is Quantum Spike. 10% of Cho's health is like, 5 billion roughly. But he is a skill shot based hero, as many spells
Right.
as he has, even though he has like 8 spells.
That explains the Tychus ban.
Sure. And the Leoric pick.
This is...
But
They
like, I
basically
don't-
need to take a Rhaegar now.
I don't really think he works against Tracer, but Tracer doesn't really work against him too, so that's
No.
kind of cool.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that 2 Bs are going to follow it up with a Rhaegar last because of the Earth Shield and the infinite value that it gets on Cho'Gall.
Oh, yeah, probably.
But-
And probably Kharazim now, 7-sided, usually coming out. And they need a giant killer, so I don't think we'll see a second support.
Even a noob with Cocoon would still be an option in theory, but
I think it's definitely Rhaegar. Unless Rhaegar gets taken here.
it just has
which-
to be Rhaegar.
But
they have no damage.
ePunks needs some damage. So they're going to go solo Tassadar
You need
against...
giant killer at this point. Either percentage-based, Leoric's gone, Kharazim is up, but you pointed out, J.O., they never pick Kharazim.
They don't pick Kharazim.
There's no way they solo task.
You need
But that's the thing. Solo task against somebody like...
Damage Kharazim, maybe?
Cho'Gall
you need
is
giant
ridiculous.
killer. You need giant killer.
But there's no... You can't solo support against... Okay, Sylvanas, Lost Soul, level 4, just spread her W around all day long. Cho'Gall, Gall does so much damage, and it just pokes through anything. I mean, and what's the cooldown on it? Like 2 or 3 seconds? I
think it can actually work with Tyrael at his side
There's
and
our
Tracer
giant killer.
dodging a lot of those spells. I think you don't really need to heal and shield that many people.
It seems like they're just
Dampen
going to
magic on a noob?
It seems like they're going to try... ePunks is going to try and ignore the elephant in the room and just cocoon him away and just deal with the rest in the 3 to 8 seconds that you have.
It puts them in an alright position with the giant killer opportunity from Lunara. I don't think there's any way she doesn't focus like on an auto attack centric build. She won't be able to go for the bonus DPS at 7. I think they need still the Nature's Culling coming out from her.
But Dreadnought, which Wisp talent do you think she will take?
That's the real question. Yeah.
Like, do you think it's going to be like a Nimble Wisp kind of game, or is it Skybound? I'm feeling time lost.
I don't even honestly know all the names of the Wisp talents just because it's like there's Nimble and the rest.
Shame on you.
I'm the worst.
At this point, I'm reminded of like who was it? One of the American streamers. The really tall one that was on your team.
Arth?
Yeah, Arthelon. He's like, I would trade Wisp talent for 1 bonus damage. That's like, I won't have a 3rd basic ability. No, but it's pretty good Wisp on this map, actually, to zone the turn-ins.
I've been trying to find a transition from Lunara's Wisp talents into something actually useful, but I failed miserably. So let's get back to Cho'Gall, guys. From a mindset point of view, how much does that trick your opponents into feeling uncomfortable, maybe, when playing against that giant ogre?
I don't even... mindset...
And they're leading by 1. They don't have to go risky.
Mindset completely gone. I mean, perhaps this is the Tracer counter. Perhaps this is the ultimate Tracer counter, and we saw what they were moving into. The fact that they're going solo Tassadar, and maybe I'm off on this one, but I feel Gall's going to spread so much damage with Sylvanas that Tassadar is going to look like a fool.
Speaking of Cho'Gall's heroic ability, guys, there has been a lot of discussion like which combo to pick. It has shifted a little bit from Shadow Bolt Volley, for example, to Twisting Nether. What can we expect coming out here from this Cho'Gall? What would your presumptions be?
I think we'll see Upheaval, possibly, with Wailing Arrow, and I kind of like Twisting Nether here. Tracer needs to get fairly close, probably in range. She will get slowed, she maybe get bursted for 800 damage. Shadow Bolt, a little bit difficult to hit on the very mobile team of the opponent, but it's still possible because Shadow Bolt Volley into an Entomb, That one is a nice one.
That is true.
I think we'll see Shadow Ball only because of the Tyrael. The Tyrael is the main deterrent. I think like if they make the upheaval and they decide to get the Sanct off, they have counterplays. Like you can open with Sylve into the Nether, but typically you don't want to pop Nether right out the gates. You want to try and get some value out of the slow, become Arthas for half a second, and then pop it later.
Yeah.
So I think it's an option. I honestly would concentrate on poke. The fact that they decided to opt into a solo Tassadar when your opponents have a majority of the control, it really feels like in the draft, that I'd like to see them just worry about poke and then take the fight when they have to later.
All right, so I can't wait to see what those two teams have got in store for us. We're beholding a Cho'Gall, something that we haven't seen in a very long time. So the next game pretty much between ePunks and of course 2Bs is now going to take place, and we're going to throw it over to our casters, Kaldor and Kalaris, one more time.
Thank you very much, guys. Happiest man alive, because we get to see Cho'Gall here for To Be Determined. It's like Christmas. I've got to see all my favorite heroes throughout the day.
Yeah, we're getting to see some double trouble here. First of all, though, we have to the left side, the ePunks with the Nubarak played this time by Nanda. Crisplosion on the Tyrael, Nick on his Tracer. Finally, Wolfjaw, Tassadar, and Raid Boss is rocking Lunara.
And then to the right-hand side, it is To Be's Determined, Nasty on Sylvanas, Bad Benny on Leoric, ADRD on Gall, Blade on Cho, and Kirsten will play Rhaegar.
This is definitely going to be an interesting game here. I mean, there's basically like two maps that Cho'Gall gets massive value, and the general rule of thumb is if you have just like objectives on the map where you have to be at one point, then Cho'Gall is great. This map is so small that you can simply rotate with him between the two turn-in spots, so it's just one of his best maps. Another one would be Infernal Shrines, where he's also exceptionally strong. And I can't wait for this. This is going to be absolutely amazing. It's going to be fun.
What an ugly, ugly Cho'Gall name. TBB ADRD. I can't believe. That's horrible. That one, yeah.
I mean, it sounds like something like an ogre would say.
Yeah, true, fair play. All right, let's see how they're going to play it. It's Blade and ADRD on the Cho'Gall, of course. And, you know, or Spur Onward even has become one of the more common things here, as well as that kind of shove light forwards. But going for Spurred Onwards here. So faster and faster with the hurry up all up.
It's just a lot of mobility that we have here. I mean, there's a couple of things to watch out for in this game. First of all, of course, is the big bad ogre that we see here. But also, what is Nubarak going to take on 10? Will he be going into the cocoon, which we expect to just isolate Cho'Gall? The idea behind it is that you cocoon Cho'Gall and you jump the backline and try to get a kill while Cho'Gall is not part of it. You turn it into a 5 versus 3, try to get a kill, and then you deal with Cho'Gall isolated from that.
Oh, Nasty.
Oh, Nasty is dead. Yeah, that's pretty much it for him.
Yeah, well, as you say, the cocoon, 2 for the price of 1. It's good. It's a nice little...
like Walmart.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I think at Walmart, isn't it like 10 for the price of 1, considering their bulk prices?
Yeah, but we don't have that many heroes in the game, so it's just like, it's a bit tricky.
That's true.
Only 5 on one side, but yeah, it's a little bit like, like being on the Oprah show. You get a cocoon, everybody gets a cocoon. That might be what we're seeing later. I mean, we don't know yet. But Tracer is, of course, another hero to really watch out for, with the help of especially Tassadar, and that's something that the ePunks have been waiting for a long time. I mean, since they came here, that hero was just banned out against them over and over again. They were like, can we please play it at least once, please? Yeah. Like, can we do that?
And if they do lose this game, they lost it to a Cho'Gall from ADRD's team. They're going to be demoralized, man. They're like, it's their clutch go-to strat, and then ADRD just busts out the Cho'Gall and it's like, we're going to beat you with anything.
To be fair, I mean, ADRD has always played Cho'Gall. Like, he's one of those, like...
Let's be honest, ADRD's always played everything.
Yeah. I mean, if you ever see like a Gazlocom coming out of it, there's a fair chance that ADRD was somehow involved. And if he's not really playing it, then at least suggested the strategy to someone.
No doubt. All right, let's knock up here on towards Cho'Gall. And actually, that was quite a good like lockdown there. Even a little bit of damage, but let's be honest, Grace's bomb doesn't do much to Cho'Gall.
And he just doesn't care. Yeah. It's really just like, you see Tracer running around him, just like emptying one clip after another, and he's just like, oh, something tickles.
That's true. And to answer the age-old question that Grubby posed on the panel, Nimble Wisp.
It's actually like, it's the talent. It's really interesting. Like the level 4 talent on the side of Lunara is always such a mystery. And in this case, it is solved. It's the Nimble Wisp. Totally didn't see that coming.
No, not at all.
And yeah, for now, Cho'Gall, again, like, I mean, the rotation between for Cho'Gall is really important here. As you can already see, we have Cho'Gall just simply moving on between the mid and the top. They have at the bot lane, mainly Leoric in this case. But it's just like you are trying to not fall behind. You need to make sure that Cho'Gall gains a few levels. He's incredibly difficult to kill already at the beginning of the game. But once that we're hitting level 10, level 13, it's just absolutely nearly impossible to take him down.
And something that's come out from Cho is a level 4 rollback, and whilst Ray Boss takes a little bit of damage here. And the interesting thing about this talent is, at level 4, there are other talents that allow you to have a bit more damage, of course, as Cho. But on this map, taking rollback means there is more disruption to the turn-in points. So obviously, just rolling forwards and then exploding is nothing. Well, it's something. But then it rolling back and then back does cause little extra problems.
And also, it's just so annoying.
That too.
It's really annoying to deal with, and this is basically like a very apt description of what Cho'Gall does in general. He just annoys people.
Yeah.
And I mean, right now you can already see that this like kind of random damage that is coming out of the hero is really giving the ePunks a little bit of trouble. They are getting hit here all the time. It's difficult for them to turn in, even though they already turn in 45 gems. It's always like the interrupt potential. There's Wolfjo being really low here, has to move out, needs to be super careful. That's exactly what we've been talking about. He needs to head home, and he needs to make sure that he comes back super fast, because right now there's a good chance that TBD is going to turn in first.
Yeah, that damn Dread Orb. Always got to be careful of it. It's huge, huge range. And of course, that will be the turn-in coming down for ePunks. So, of course, whether you've got a Cho'Gall there, yeah, he can rotate around to these locations and stuff, but they don't really have much in the way of vision. It wasn't like Eye of Kilrog, for example, or something like that. They were just going for a more team-based build.
You can definitely tell that at the end of the game, Tracer will have such an incredible damage amount that it's not going to be funny anymore. The question is, can she actually kill something?
Right, right.
Because usually you just jump the backline and you're trying to just take one of these targets down. Right now she's more focused on Cho'Gall than anything else. And once that we're having Rhaegar with Ancestral with the potential Earth Shield, it's just so tricky to take him down. But they could try and snowball it here, and they're attempting to do that. They have a Sylvanas against them, which doesn't make things any easier. But at this point, the Web Weavers are still in play for the ePunks.
And that was quite a few hits on Chris there from the Orb, from Cho'Gall. So charging on forwards and going to try and shut down Anubarak up towards the top. Nande here being supported by Nick. So it's very difficult for Cho'Gall to do much there. And once again, gets tickled by the Tracer Bomb.
They have on level 7 now, even the I am hurrying, so they're trying to keep him as mobile as possible, even the cooldown reduction for the Shadow Flame on the side of ADRD. But the Web Weavers in the mid lane have been, like all of the Web Weavers, have been definitive, and now we still have a level lead for the ePunks. If they can snowball it here, that would be the best scenario for them, if they can get a bit of snowball going on. Keep in mind, they're down 1 game in the best of 3 series. Right now, ADRD, they realize they need to make some kind of play happen. Yeah. If they get their turn in, they can use Sylvanas to snowball it against the ePunks and maybe even take the lead in EXP.
And one thing that's important to note as well is that this is previous patch, this is Gul'dan patch, so Tracer still has the 2 blinks on recall from Spatial Echo at level 7. So she's very, very safe still, whereas in the new patch she's not as safe, but she still has a Tassadar with her, so she's doing well for now and she will be okay.
Yeah, they are currently attempting turning in, but look at Nasty down here at the bot lane. Tracer comes in, and that's going to be a kill. Well played here. 2 kills versus 0. Nick showing his skills here, taking down Sylvanas. Going now for Leoric too, but not securing the just quite.
No, not at all. Very, very close though, very close. So the same, it's like a level lead entirely, which means level 10 is going to approach soon. They need to hold that momentum though, because against the Cho'Gall composition, if you don't, it can get very, very scary. It should have been a guaranteed kill, but Chris juking and jiving.
Oh, that was a close call there. Just roughly 100 hit points on the side of Tyrael, but he's able to get away. Heroic abilities are in play now. Leaping Stride already for Lunara, but look at Anubarak. He hasn't made his choice just yet. We will see that soon. And even Tyrael is waiting.
I like the Leaping Strike because you're against a Leoric, so you may want to make sure that you're not going up against an Entomb once that comes around and Curse
Cocoon. Could they got into Judgment to just jump? Yes, they do. They go Judgment. They try to jump the backline heroes. The Cocoon is there. They start to move in, and it's the kill against Rhaegar. He's down already, and I'm liking the thought process of the ePunks. It's aggressive, but it is promising, and there we have it.
And the loop forwards as well there. Brilliant synergy from that. The Judgment into the Leaping Strikes, a guaranteed kill off there from everyone backing it up. And this now is gone from let's cocoon a Cho'Gall to let's just kill everyone off around a Cho'Gall, and Cho'Gall's sat there and doing nothing. This is great.
In this case, they didn't even have to sync them up, but just think about it for a moment. If you cocoon Cho'Gall, what do you want to do? You want to jump the back line. What can your opponent do? They can just simply move away a little bit, wait for Cho'Gall to come back, and then play with him. That doesn't really work all that well if you have a leaping strike against you and a Tyrael that locks you down with the judgment.
Yeah, it's a perfect little comp that we've got going here from ePunks. If any game is theirs, it should be this one. So let's see if they can keep the momentum riding all the way as this Web Weaver just trying to push down some positions, but they hardly got anything from that Web Weaver turn in.
Yeah, and I am so curious for the next fight. ePunks, they can lock them down and force them into a fight with leaping strike and judgment while Cho'Gall is cocooned. That has to be their play. They need to wait for the cooldowns and make these cooldowns count. They are still ahead in experience. They're looking good here. 4 kills against 0, but Cho'Gall is, of course, gaining momentum.
And with Cho'Gall, there was some discussion at the panel as to what heroics were going to come along or whatever. For me, these are the more common ones, the Shadow Ball as well as the Hammer, just for space control and big damage once you get level 20 Shadow Balls if you're able to get there. And even the normal level 10 ones are very strong themselves.
Yeah, Nick dishing out the damage here, and quite a bit at that. Tracer silence, though. Here comes that immediate judgment, and Sylvanas has been judged and not found worthy. She's down. There's the cocoon, forcing another fight. Leaping strike once again. Chris is falling to Leoric, though, and in this case, the cocoon actually didn't give them any value.
That was the power of Leoric. He comes back eventually, and Nubrak will burrow charge out of that entomb, so fine. In fact, a lot of the members have good escape mechanics to get out of that entomb, so I dare say it might not even be worth taking into him. Just try and march and see what you could do with it.
I guess, yeah, to be honest with you, looking at the heroes right now,
Pick him up, boys, and run away.
2 for the price of 1.
Very nice.
Getting the double kill here. But yeah, as you're saying it, the Entomb, if you just look at the abilities that these heroes chose, what does it do for you?
I don't know, man. Unless you catch an Anubrak after he just used Burrow Charge or something to that effect.
Yeah, or if you catch Lunara when she doesn't. Like, even Tyrael can just simply jump out with Eldruin's Might, with the Judgment. You have the Leaping Strike available. This seems like a very odd choice when it comes to a talent pick. Yeah. The only thing that I can really see is that you are trying to just use the Entomb to isolate, like, not to catch someone, but just to zone them out.
Like a wall, like a false wall. Like, yeah, I mean, it can work. We've seen it come a long time and time again.
3-level lead, by the way.
It's looking difficult at the moment here for our Cho'Gall buddies. Again, one of my absolute favorite heroes. In fact, one of my favorite lore characters of all time as well. Shame we don't get to see him much, and if he loses, I'm going to be a sad panda.
Now we have Giant Killer too, you know. We have, I love that comp against Cho'Gall. To be honest, like, it didn't even occur to me that we could see the Judgment and also the Leaping Stride, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. Of course, the Cocoon is something that we talked about from the start, but then you can force that fight with the 2 heroic abilities on Tyrael and Lunara, and that just puts it on a whole different level.
Oh yeah, it's very brutal for them to deal with at the moment. They're not really finding a solution either. They need to put the pieces together, but so far ePunks just kind of keeps taking the pieces away from them. The charge was down from Nande, but they're already on towards Nasty. He gets popped, and he drops almost 50 gems during all of that. Shadow Ball Volley comes out as well, pushing it on towards Nyx. There was already the Cocoon on towards Kosen, and he will fall from Leaping Strike, damage, and poison.
They didn't even use the Judgment until now. They already got 2 kills, and they didn't even use it. They used it to take down Leoric too, and that makes it a triple kill. Only Cho'Gall is there, and guess what? He's not going to do a thing against this. They are not only a talent ahead, they're 3 levels ahead. They're going to get a second talent any moment right now. ePunks are completely wrecking the beast. This is brutal.
And sometimes there can be a fine line between genius and foolish, and at the moment, that's kind of what we're seeing here, unfortunately. Leoric's back.
And there was a great silence. Tyrael is down, but so is Cho'Gall. Lunara explodes, but it's still totally worth it since Sylvanas was already eliminated.
Yeah, sometimes, I mean, this happens when ADRD is on teams. Oftentimes, you know, we see him come out with these very wild strategies. The Medivh plays, you know, it looks really strong, and then you get these Cho'Gall comps, which kind of is reminiscent of the Malfurion and Lily comp that we had over in Leicester back when we saw him there as well. So, you know, as I said, a fine line.
But to be absolutely honest with you, I like the Cho'Gall idea on this map. We have seen it before, and it can really work. It just doesn't work against this comp, and that is something where the ePunks have really put quite some thought into this. When I saw the Lunara, I wasn't quite sure if I would really like her or not in this setup, but the Leaping Strike is really something that just completely, with judgment, changes everything here for them.
And Nick flexing his reflex muscles as he's gone for locked and loaded at level 16, so get that reload going. It's actually one of the most fun things to play with if you're able to keep on tabs with it, but it can be a little bit brutal sometimes.
To be honest, at this point, Nick is just having fun.
Yeah,
like he's just zipping around on the map and he's just saying like, all right, let's try to get the 100,000 damage here. He's at 71,000 right now. He's doing well, and he's not really threatened throughout the entire game. The only heroes that have died so far on the side of the ePunks are Tyrael as the frontliner and Lunara. And Tracer shouldn't actually die against this unless he's being hit with a Wailing Arrow and a perfect silence. But just look at this pressure play. Keep it the bot lane is down. They get the web weavers once again. They dominate completely.
Oh, does Leoric pop? No, almost. Nick goes in and actually, 15 health. Oh, he goes down. That was poison, it must have been or something. But regardless, that is going to be him falling. And now even more will go down. Judgment on towards Sylvanas just for the kicks.
That's the moment you just hate your life. Like, you just barely dodge the Lunara and then Tyrael comes in too and you're like, why me?
Anybody else, please? Judgment Cho'Gall, he loves it.
This is like... Basically, TBD is just asking, guys, can we have a surrender option? Like, this is just... I don't know what they can do to come back into this. This is the brutal thing about it. It's not like they can just rely on an ETC mosh pit and say, okay, if we get the perfect ult off, we can change everything. They just need to wait for ePunks to make mistakes. And at this point, it doesn't look like ePunks can actually do mistakes big enough to allow TBD to come back into it.
I guess in that instance, the panel talking about the other heroic abilities for Cho'Gall would have potentially been a way to make a miraculous recovery with an upheaval or with something like that to then chain big AoE damage, but that's not there. They don't have that opportunity. The core is going to end up falling, and the cocoon at the very end to deny that Shadow Ball. That will be 1-1. GG. ePunks push it to a game 3.
Not even close. I mean, that was absolutely brutal what we just saw. And you could see how happy TBD was when they got that Cho'Gall and we're like, guys, we picked the Leoric, you can't use him. We banned out Tychus. We have everything that we want. We took everything away from you that it can use to counter. What you gonna do? And then ePunks were like, wait a moment, like, we're fine.
Yeah, we still have many, many options, and we have a Tracer that you let us get, so... Nice times there. ePunks able to tie it up. Happy to see them move on to a third map.
This is one of those games that you just want to forget as quick as possible. You're just like, yeah, that never happened.
Yeah, I mean, it was an atypical composition. So, of course, if they maybe gone into it with a normal one, you know, maybe they would have won out. But next map is going to be Towers of Doom, I believe. So, it's ADRD on Towers of Doom. I think my mind explodes already.
Did you see his style with like the Azodan push comp that he played? He played it against Fnatic once. Fnatic told me afterwards, like, even if you know that you're winning, it's just so annoying. Like, he has a couple of strategies where he just really brings you to the edge of madness.
That sounds perfect. The mad scientist makes you mad. I'm okay with that one. Let's head over to the analysis desk to see what they think of game number 2.
Thank you very much, boys. And man, what a ride it has been. Tracer Express going full force towards enemy core and face. I mean, it's pretty hard to say what went into 2Bs because there was no reason to go so crazy on the draft, in my opinion.
That's what they do.
Reason and crazy in the same sentence. I think crazies don't need reason. Right?
Yeah,
That's the definition of crazy. You don't have reasons for what you do.
That's twice on Tomb of the Spider Queen they've gone a little bit crazy, and twice
they're not clinically crazy, by the way. If they are,
looks really bad.
We'll find help.
The one thing that confuses me the most is like I almost feel like people nicknaming ADRD the mad scientist is a problem because he almost like it's like the self-fulfilling prophecy. Every single time they draft close to normal with a twist, good game. Every single time they're like, but what about Medivh Tyrael? Like, let's get a little fancy. It just looks ugly. But and then they win a game with a more traditional, a little bit closer to normal composition. proceed to go into round 2. Cho'Gall comes out, and it's not even close to pretty.
I guess ADR just likes to make things a little bit more interesting and exciting. And speaking of interesting and exciting, J-How, talk us through that replay number 1.
I think interesting and exciting lends to we're going against the different comps, so we're going to run some different talents. And what we see here is Rhaegar under a little bit of pursuit. He's going to go wiggle around a little bit, and then this is where we're going to see Cocoon come out. Some of the more less traditional ones, they're going to lock it down, but you can see as the team starts to collapse, and then we're going to see the Tassadar Force Wall, and then as it slows down here, you're going to see it pop up, the Impale comes up, and then the Leaping Strike. Hey guys, it's Tomb of the Spider Queen, let's run Leaping Strike instead. But they're not done yet because they continue to put the pressure on. Hey, there's a Sylvanas, that's a nice turn in, but we've got something called Judgment. Bam! And you can see the follow-up once again with Leaping Strike. The unusual heroics lend towards a different sort of attack, and it worked for them in this case.
Very smart against Entomb as well from Leoric. You can get out of it. You can chase down Cho'Gall with it. Super cool to see. Judgment, sometimes I liken it to like a slightly improved Eldruin's Might. It does almost no damage. It does a stun, but it really is a very good gap closer.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's going to be super interesting to see which team will come out of on top here in that game number 3, which is going to take place on one of the coolest, in my personal opinion, battlegrounds that we have in Heroes of the Storm, Towers of Doom. Because you don't have core rushes, you don't have like going face the entire time. You will have to play it out patiently, constantly pressuring altars, mercenaries, and the Headless Horsemen.
But does that lead towards more crazy drafts? I mean, it's Towers of Doom. You don't have to worry about your core dying in the traditional sense. So do you do something a little bit different?
Vikings, anyone?
I mean, is that in somebody's wheelhouse here?
I think there was a strategy too where you take Azmodan and you just bum rush forts all the time. I don't know if it's a legit one. We can see
if
it.
that comes out, I'm leaving Europe immediately.
You show what you've written on those cards if the bet comes out.
If it works, I will show exactly what I have written on
All
here.
right, cool. I hope so. Tracer ban, Vikings ban.
And the Bees are having none of it. They say immediately, Tracer is a foe that we do not want to face again. And on the flip side, ePunks apparently heard Grubby's and J-How's banter. And
Okay,
he says,
so
like, no.
by banning out Vikings, that leaves the door open for Tyrael Kerrigan, which is what they dominated with on BOE, but it's something that they want to run.
I was like, why does Vikings counter them? But no, it's like by not getting banned out, right?
But that does leave open Falstad, who, you talk about the global mobility, he lends so much. And then when you get to maps like this where global mobility is key, and those altars being in different places, almost impossible to go wrong with Falstad.
Yep.
Dread, do you remember when we researched ePunks and we were like, oh, their high priority heroes are?
Yeah, I mean, it's very norm for them to be moving. It's just the ETC whenever possible, and then Falstad as well. Abathur is already going to be picked up really early here for 2Bs determined. That means a Greymane, I think, is going to be their next pickup here. The pairing there with the Tyrael composition. It's a very aggressive one. Kerrigan is still up, and that's kind of what they've been more successful with. But I really do think that they should move more towards the Greymane or somebody that's a better hat target overall. They could have.
If it is Kerrigan, they have a chance to make history here by jumping in with 2 Kerrigans and using each other's sweeping grasp to do your impaling blades. Like ice. It would require a lot of coordination, but it's possible.
So Blade, we have no drafts, at least that I see,
Jaina,
to where he's on Greymane. But we saw a team called Dignitas earlier, I believe, run an Abathur Jaina comp on this very map.
So strong.
To great success.
Now, Jaina doesn't have any more talents that save herself like Ice Block, but I guess you don't really need it if you're just an evolution copy anyway.
Yeah.
So lethal, double Jaina. They also proc off each other's chill, doing bonus critical damage.
Very true.
And then I feel like they're going to need somebody who's going to be a bit more of a setup for them. A double Jaina is obviously very, very strong and hard to deal with. But I think they're going to want somebody to kind of prime her Ring and Blizzard as well. Tyrael is not too great at that when it comes to being a solo tank. And typically you look to tanks to be that. ETC's already picked up. So I expect them to move into somebody else. To try and kind of help out with that. It doesn't even have to be like Murden. It could be even a noob, something of the like. They ban out the Arthas though for ePunks.
What do you think of Abathur hunt? Like hunting Abathur. I know it's everybody's favorite sport, but on Towers of Doom, it's actually not that easy because you have that death zone close to the enemy core, which basically provides natural cover for that Abathur as well.
One of the best things about Abathur is that he soaks lanes that get pushed towards him, just from behind the gate. He doesn't really need to body soak until he sees Falstad on the other side of the map, having joined the objective. And also, Abathur takes back Conquered Forts really well, because he can literally be in that cannon line, just providing a few locusts to eventually depush it.
Do you think that ePunks needs additional heroes to deal with Abathur, something like a Zeratul, for instance?
I don't think they need to. I do question if they're worried about it from their opponents, though. Like, because the Zeratul Jaina Wombo combo and Zeratul Abathur hat with the double clone, like that is a very scary composition. And it can force the fight that they kind of lack and then also provide the engage that they may need. It is a bit riskier to have that style of play, but it is one that you can get away with, especially on towers where you can predict rotations. That's why Zeratul's so good on Sky, for instance, right? So with towers, it's another area where they might be able to do that. It's not as appealing because the ETC, or excuse me, the gust that's going to exist on the other side should be a decent counter response, but Rhaegar will be picked up here for ePunks. Yep. We're going to have to see.
How would you feel about Greymane being on the side of ePunks? I mean, I feel like if you want to get towards Jaina, I think it's dangerous, especially if you can keep Tyrael protecting. Is it dive worthy against a cloned Jaina, a double Jaina?
They go with the Anubarak.
I'm not feeling an Anubarak for ePunks yet.
They like it. It's going to be rough into the Jaina. Dampen Magic, even though it does do a lot of damage mitigation, Jaina's damage output, especially double Jaina, is just so high that I don't think it's going to be reliable. Rhaegar is going to have very aggressive positioning to be able to help with that. And also Sanctification stops all healing, so that's going to be hard for them to deal with. He's going to have to play very, very well in this game.
I like that suggestion, Dreadnought. Zeratul would be a pretty great way to start the fight.
There was one Protoss already.
Yeah, if they pick Zeratul now, it may be a bit too risky.
I mean, that'd be a solo task at this point. I mean, you have Abathur, of course, but...
You don't go double support Abba usually, though, right?
No,
not at all.
Tyrael. So that's going to be it.
Yeah, it feels like it's just going to be... Is it going to be a Leoric instead, then, to try and have that...
That would be so weird.
2Bs is already that Tassadar lock-in. It seems a bit strange. I think it leads more towards the Zeratul. Denial of Vision. They're afraid to give the Tassadar up to ePunks with the Anubarak.
I hear Grubby say that would be too weird. I'm like, do you see the team name?
There's nothing too weird. And even the team name is weird, right? Oh, that's not what you meant, but...
2Bs.
All right, so how about we just randomly pick one from the hero list? Open the hero list, and it's gonna be murky.
They go Butcher.
They can't be serious about this.
It's the Butcher.
Well, I wouldn't have guessed it. So the ninja is always in the bush that you don't check, right? So sick.
Oh my goodness.
Who does he charge? Does he charge Rhaegar, or is he going to try and body the front line? He can't go up against the front line too long, but if you clone, do you double clone Butcher?
Fresh meat. Nice.
The one thing that confuses me is why not just take the Kerrigan instead and truly deathball, force a fight? Absolutely. Like, I get having the Jaina, it's a little bit better than the last time that we saw the Butcher. It's not nearly as just straightforward all in. They have the Tyrael with him as well, which is far better than I think that we saw in the past. And the Zeratul counter response, but...
This is Kerrigan's worst map statistically on the ladder.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't think that's why, but maybe there's some reason for it.
I doubt Butcher's win rate is much better, though.
True. It's not in the negatives. You can't get negative win rate.
Butcher charges anybody relatively off the front line, VP the back, smash Butcher.
Yeah, it's if you VP Falstad. Oh wait.
Other side.
If you VP Falstad, he cannot be charged. I just wanted to say that.
There's a lot of tools to be able to deal with the Butcher here. I do think it's better than the last time we saw it, though. I can say that I am more comfortable seeing the Butcher here. But it feels, again, very forced. Watch what we can do. It just constantly feels that way. It is a little better, but again, it just seems...
Do you think that we're going to see an all-in build from Abathur going for the Symbiote build for that Butcher, or do you think we're still going to see Mines?
I think it'll be Hat build, concentrated around Hat. They need to be able to baby him. It's kind of counterintuitive too, because when you look at their composition, they want to have value out of like a double Jaina or a double target, and typically that's going to be complementing the engage of Butcher, which also usually you're going to want the half for. So he's going to have a couple of seconds there while they're getting value out of the Jaina clone that he needs to be worried about the stats that he's not going to have from the Abathur, which I think he's going to be depending on quite a bit in this game.
I feel like they can't be hesitant. Like we saw them on Sky Temple use that, and they were hesitant to engage. They got into a poke war, and it worked against them, and they never fully took advantage of what they have. They need to get the clone, they need to get the charge, and they need to be on the same page. And like you said, Dread, it was kind of like with the Medivh. It's like, look what we're doing, look what we can do with it. But if they don't all do it together, it's just one person playing Butcher, and it looks cool when we get the draft, but then it looks terrible in the game.
Well, if it's going to be anything like Battlefield of Eternity, they were very aggressive. They made it happen. So they could do it again. They're playing well today. One thing to point out, Mosh Pit has 2-3 cancellations by the most unlikely of characters. Tyrion's not going to go Judgment, so that we can write that one off. Then it's only Butcher who can interrupt Mosh Pit, and he's probably going to be in it if he wants to do anything. Or maybe he'll play the special poke-style Butcher, which doesn't exist.
The increased length on hamstring.
Yeah. I mean, you can do 200 damage every 4 seconds, every 3 seconds. So it's a little bit tough dealing with Mosh Pit. Maybe they try to like just sustain through it with gratuitous amounts of shield and sanctification and so on.
On the flip side, though, if you're in the shoes of ePunks, you still have to take this game seriously. You can't just be joking around like we're doing it on the panel right now, but you have to bring your 100% A game. And do you think that's going to be easy against a team comp that you've never seen like this before, most likely?
Yeah, I think so.
Look at the last game.
It was easy last game.
I mean, they probably didn't see the Leoric Cho'Gall on every day in the scrims, you know, and it didn't seem like they were sweating it a little bit too hard. I mean, if anything, it seems like they were overly confident. Like, they were legitimately just diving heaps. Like, Tracer was just like, I know you can't do anything, so I'm just going to keep going. Like, and I think it's going to be the same this game. The only difference is going to be, like, exactly what Jay has said. You're going to see the clone, you're going to see the charge, and all of a sudden it's going to be one sweet gust, and then it's like, well, that didn't work out too well. And then the next time they're like, all right, Gust is off cooldown. This is our moment. And then you're like, and then Void Prison hits, and then you're like,
yeah.
So Butcher becomes unstoppable. Do you gust while he's charging and then just like...
No, because you'll cancel it halfway through. You wait till he overcommits.
True.
Just zone away. You can get to the side unless it's the false end.
I just got a feeling it's full YOLO Butcher.
So like, theoretically, it doesn't make any sense. There's nothing to counter Mosh Pit reliably. There's 3 disengages. It's very telegraphed engage every time TBD does it. So, difficult. Difficult. Theoretically not, but there's always a practice side.
I think that is the story of a lot of some of the like crazier comps that we see here. It's like, on paper, this is actually really pretty. They're like, look, I can do this, and then I can do this, and then the whole team's dead. And you're like, yeah, but that's depending on this, which is like a 0% chance of it happening. So, feels bad, man.
That's Raid Boss is like, did they really just draft this?
I hope they prove us all wrong, you know?
I mean,
I do too.
I actually genuinely do, just because I want to feel like justification for the creativity that we see out of them consistently, specifically ADRD. His name comes up a lot, but he's done this consistently in the past. But I don't think it's ever even made it past this game. Like, specifically, I don't think they've ever made it out of day number 1.
Yeah.
And I think it's very repeated what we see from him and his team.
I mean, it's very easy to just, you know, deem these comms as worthless or really bad, but on the flip side, I really want those crazy shenanigan strategies to succeed, so that we, the experts on the panel, are wrong and proven wrong, and we can see a new facet of Heroes of the Storm and new heroes making a possible entry in that meta.
Yeah, because Kendrick, it's easy to be original. Like, I can be original by picking 5 heroes from the list.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, some people use originality in the wrong sense in that way. The real originality is when it actually works.
It reminds me of Team Blaze in North America. The thing is that they came out with these crazy comps, but it was things that they actively practiced so that when they used it, it looked normal. Even though people would call it the quote-unquote cheese, it worked for them because that's what they were known for. Is this something they're actively practicing, or are they putting it together saying, yeah, we've tried it a couple times, this should work?
I think the Butcher specifically is something they've definitely prepped in certain compositions, especially with the Tyrael and the pairing of like the aggressive death ball style. For some reason, I don't think running the like Jaina solo task Abathur on towers, it seems a little bit off. If this was cursed, I think I'd be more sold. On towers specifically, Abathur does have a bit of value, but I think it's too much to commit to this composition on the map specifically. Like, comparing it to Cursed Hollow, the value he can get, especially in the late game, is a lot more convincing.
Let's not forget, guys, that this is the ultimate decision-making or the decisive match.
Yeah.
the team that loses this final game in this best of 3 is out of the tournament. So you have to admire and respect the courage coming in from 2Bs even more.
You don't have to.
I do.
They have to earn it. No, but it is daring, but that's exactly what we've come to expect from ADRD, right? I think a lot of people are hoping for the team to make it work, but they're also impatient with it if it doesn't. Like, they're putting a lot of pressure on themselves by doing yet another unconventional draft that, you know, people are going to blame it whether it is the cause or not. It could be execution, but it could indeed be the unconventionality and the theoretical, wait, how do we do this? It actually doesn't work.
One thing, when we talked to them after, I believe it was Leicester, about some of the Malfurion Lily composition specifically, there was a justification that was given from them that was, we need, it was a situation to where it was like, if we have a level lead, this composition would work. And that they've genuinely practiced the composition. And it was like, well, if we had that lead, it would have worked out. But nobody can build a composition on the idea that if we got the advantage, that's the only way that our composition works. And it feels like those kind of like false positives and things that happen are very frequent with the teams that he works with in his mentality.
Right.
At least it comes out in their drafts that way.
Yeah, exactly. Like, maybe they've had some scrims, like a fair amount, that leads them to have confidence in this comp, where they will win as long as they get like early pickoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
In the lane. It's like, oh, you know, it's just Jaina. Suddenly there's Symbiote, suddenly Butcher charges in, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like one of those situations where you're like, you got 5 picks and like a half level lead, you got the map objective, suddenly it's a level and a half, and the whole rest of the game, even if you make mistakes, you're like, that game was very easy. Obviously, this composition's great. But like, until you see it where it's the opposite situation, and if you have no chance, probably not the case.
And I actually saw this argument raised recently about Butcher in general. His win rate in Quick Match, Hero League, all across the board is like decent. It's like 50% or higher, which is like, oh, you know, Butcher is fine. You know, his mechanics work fine. But it's more like every time he's on a team that can, for some reason, get the early lead, he will indeed dominate.
Yeah.
And every time he's not, he won't.
Yeah, it's like a riskier version of Kerrigan in that sense. That it's like, if you get the early lead, you're like, wow, this character, what they can do is insane. But then when they're on the back foot, you're like, how do I go in without just getting blown up?
Exactly. So it's almost like 50% for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
If that hypothesis is true.
And let's think of Korea a couple of months back, because I know in Super League, for example, we've seen Butcher in a legitimate way to approach the game. Can you remember back then what was Butcher being used, or how was he used back then in terms of talent builds? Like, how do you play that hero to make him work?
Back then, it was a round where Sonya was considered to be like the hero that a lot of people needed to have. Thrall didn't show too much value at the time. And it was large focus on putting a large amount of threat onto the front line and then worry about that backline afterwards and just using his frontline kill potential and survivability with kind of having a half Babyum composition. But the meta has drastically changed, and heroes and disengage is everywhere, it feels like now. What it wasn't the case originally when he was such a powerful like character in Korea.
All right, but before we get lost in theory crafting about Butcher and ADRD's way of approaching the game, let's actually pass the ball over to Kalaris and Calder, who are going to take you to Game 3. It's basically everything on the line here for ePunks and 2Bs, and we're going to take you guys to one last battleground.
And that battleground is Towers of Doom, and we're going to jump in right away. Guys, this is the last map here, of course, so the winning team is going to go into the Constellation match. And to the left side of the map, we have the ePunks, the German team with Nanda on an Uberak, Crisplosion on ETC, Nick on Falstad, Wolfjoe on Reka playing the support here, and Raid Boss is playing Zeratul.
And to the right-hand side, of course, it is 2Bs determined, as we have Nasty playing Jaina, Bad Benny on Tyrael. We have ADRD on Abatha, Blade on the Butcher, and Kirsten will be playing Tassadar here. Game number 3 to find out who moves on to play against Fnatic.
Definitely a very interesting draft that we have here with the Butcher making an appearance once again. The last time it failed, maybe this time they are a bit more successful with it. Invigoration taken as the level 1 talent, Jaina going straight into the machine gun build. And I can't wait to actually see how much they can do with this. We already heard from the analysts what the problems are with the composition here, but let's see what the reason is why ADRD's team chooses to go for this draft in particular.
Yeah, and in the European scene, I mean, likewise, us too get to go into a lot of scrims, etc., and things like that. And when talking to the other teams, a lot of them were like, well, yeah, if you give them Tyrael, oftentimes they will go Butcher, and they will hurt you with it. So there is the potential that this can definitely work out.
I kind of like that we have the regeneration microbes already taken for Abathur. That's something that AD already does on the hero, and he's actually the only Abathur player that I have seen do this so far, and it's pretty cool. So right now, I'm very curious to see how much of an impact they can have in this game. The Butcher already roaming around a little bit. It is Blade again on the melee assassin here, and on the other side, we are seeing block on Zeratul. This is going to be a good one way or another. I mean, we had some fun in this series already, but this is leading to a very nice finish.
Charging against Nick there. It seems that, you know, whenever you bring our ADRZ's name up, yes, all the heroes in his game, in his world, have the same name, but they don't do the same things as everybody else. They just, what build have you seen of ADRZ recently that's just normal? There isn't one.
Yeah, oh, he's going for the typical level, but wait a second, he's not.
No, yeah.
Well, so right now we have, of course, just like a bit of rotation happening. Towers of Doom, of course, we have in the first and the fifth objective phase 3 altars on the map. Keep that in mind, incredibly important, especially when you're running global heroes like that Falstad. Triple altar phase has already been announced, and this is where Falstad and also Abathur gain a lot of value for the team.
And this triple temple shrine, even I should say, always becomes a bit of a chaos, one would say here, as Nasty with a little bit of extra range on his Ice Bolt would help out a little bit, but it looks like it's probably going to go trade for trade here with how the teams are set up at the moment.
Yeah, they're just like trying to block with the tanks here. We have 2 assassins already in position to start the channel. The bot lane, that's what's going to be very interesting. We already have Curson and Blade in position up to the top. Falstad can, of course, fly down immediately, whereas Jaina will take some time to arrive. Here comes the Butcher with a charge, but immediately retreats.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to make that work at the moment here. Needs a few more talents as well to gather himself some power, for sure. Not gathering power, not that one. He doesn't have that one, but gathering some other power elsewhere. He certainly does in some of his talents.
Yeah, channel his inner strength there. Well, for now, we actually see them just like taking the hit. We have a sustained Carapace now at this point, so it's a little bit reminiscent of what you get with Tacidar's shields on level 7, so he actually maintains some of that. The Butcher himself, he went straight into the cheap shot here, so for the additional damage against slowed, rooted or stunned targets, there is definitely quite a bit of potential if you can force that fight. You actually talked about Sanctification earlier, and I feel it kind of alludes a little bit to what they need. They need level 10. Not only on Tyrael, they need that ultimate evolution. And that's really going to be key for them.
Yeah, you play this slow, and then at the same time, you can see why they didn't go for too much of an aggressive stance down towards the bottom shrine. Like, they just can't with this comp.
You can't fall behind with this. You need to wait for level 10. And it's totally fine to sacrifice a few of the altars early on, as long as you get into the mid-game on eye level with your opponent. The one thing that's, of course, going to be really important is that Void Prison and also the Mighty Gust that has been talked about before. If they can be used as a disengage, then you wasted a couple of cooldowns on your heroes, and then all of a sudden you can't fight that fight that you're looking for anymore.
ADRD's been completely sealed in his base by the Anub'arak up towards the top. He's not going out anytime soon. He's just waiting for next shrines to come up, see where they're going to spawn, and then maybe he'll venture out a little bit further, but can't do that just yet.
Yeah, so a lot of the shields with Tassadon are also going into Leeching Plasma here. That's going to help. We have at the same time Zeratul with the Vorpal Blade trying to go into that back line. One of the targets that he's going to be looking for is Jaina, of course. So we have a bit of pressure play happening. The Butcher, of course, is one of those frontline heroes with a lot of self-sustain as well. Already, there's Karla's Embrace. We have a bit more damage for Abathur heading into the Needle Spine.
And you know, going up against Zeratul, it's actually interesting that Jaina doesn't go for Frost Armor in comparison to just full machine. Nasty feels so confident in his current positioning going up against Zeratul that no Frost Armor.
I actually think they are just like really banking the hopes on bursting him down if he makes the appearance here. It at least feels like it. They're willing to fight here. I mean, of course, up at the top lane, Abathur is soaking right now. Down here, on the other hand, the slider started. Here comes that Blizzard coming in from Nasty. We have the angle for Blade to maybe go for a charge. Doesn't do it yet. The longer the fight lasts, the more value Abathur is going to get at the top lane.
And also he took level 7 Needle Spine for the extra range as well as some damage. So
there we go.
Potentially can even interrupt things. Unstoppable though. On towards Crystsplosion. He will just walk away from that.
Yeah, nice cleanse. Really well done from Reka. So he made sure that that stun didn't hit. But with all those shields that we have and Abathur, they're still fighting for it. And Abathur, the slug, is up at the top.
Look at it. Look at how bubbly he is. I love it. Well done, Butcher. All the bubbles, and he's, you know, actually not dying and causing a lot of problems. He's almost a weird warrior right now.
Yeah, and there's the kill against Jay. Now, but the counter kill against the Nubarak. Look how low Nick is in the back on his false step. He's moving back. Raid boss is also blinking out. They're still fighting for this, and the longer the fight lasts, the better for them. Falstad is flying top. He wants the slug down here. The fight continues. Here comes the onslaught, and the Butcher. He wants fresh meat, and he gets it. He takes down ETC, and that's 2 kills against 1.
Very, very nicely done. The thing is that as the Butcher in this game, because you take cheap shot, you don't have the cooldown reduction on your charge. So when you charge, you better be sure as hell that you are going to get good value out of that charge, and then put yourself in a position to kill someone off, basically, because otherwise you're not going to be in a very useful position for quite a while.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, the Butcher is at this point like a second tank that they have. It's basically like their main tank. You have the Abathur shield, thanks to the one on 4 talent. You have the Tacita shield on top of it too, with leeching plasma. Tyrael has his shield as well, and the Butcher has a self-sustain with the Butcher's brand. He's just standing there just saying like, yeah, what you gonna do against me?
So 3 shields from external sources, and then we're gonna get sanctification at level 10.
Yeah.
This is a big Butcher.
It definitely is. Jaina, on the other hand, she's still squishy as ever, and if you find her at the front line, as we did just now, then the ePunks are just going to say thank you very much for that, and they're going to take her apart. That's what they just did now. But we have the level 10 on board now for the Bees.
They definitely don't want Jaina to be the weak link here. Again, you know, because of the build, she is slightly susceptible to these things going on, as we were mentioning. No real defensive build talents taken in the earlier stages. So, yes, she will end up dying here and there, but now Lamb to the Slaughter is available. Now we even have walls, we have sanctification. I think 2B's actually gain a lot of momentum here.
Yeah, I mean, this is, of course, a lot of aggression potential. Butcher still waiting here in the back. They're starting to see each other at the bot lane. They have also the mercenaries that they're bringing into play now. Abathur at the top, still soaking. He's actually been doing a great job soaking experience, just allowing the team to move as 4 constantly.
Yeah, that's the room that they gather from all of this. Symbiote and Bad Benny and just pushing out the front.
ePunks also with the Cocoon, by the way. Going for Cocoon here. Void Prison used in the back line. They go for Blade. Blade is still alive somehow, and he dies eventually. Bad Benny didn't have the chance to jump in with the Sanctification, but it took ages for them to actually kill him.
That alone kind of scares me. They've used Cocoon, they want to back off at the moment by the looks of things, but that scares me because during all of that, some of the members of 2B's Determined were Void Prismed, and they were still trying to blow him up, and it did take a while. So there is definitely a situation in the future that we could foresee that if they miss a Void Prism or if they don't have Void Prism available, the 2B's Determined could do massive work.
Did they actually catch Tacita with that Void Prison? Was he in the Void Prison?
Not sure who was in.
Yeah, we definitely had Tyrael in there, but like if they have more sustain on those heroes, that would be absolutely brutal.
Yeah, insane.
For now, though, we have actually both of the teams at the same amount of hit points on the court. 28 versus 28. We're still looking at a very, very even game here. 3 kills against 3. Structures taken out again. Blade, of course, need to get his meat stacks up again, and that's what he's currently working on.
Yep, he is pushing down this tower as well. Maybe he just kind of get this going a little bit further because he does have these sappers with him. So they could do a bit of damage, but they're actually just going to go on towards Crisplosion, who's found himself in a bad spot, and he is taking so much damage. He's going to try and mosh, but even a cleave alone smash into the ground will take him down.
It is brutal, and now 26 meat stacks already for the Butcher. At the top lane, Abathur soaking experience, and they are level ahead right now. They will head into 13 very soon.
So nice to see this actually working out for them at the moment, as for now, they're about to hit that level 13, taking this down. The Lamb to the Slaughter misses. Rayboss blinks out of it. Not the target you're ideally wanting to go for. There's a lot of mobility on the side.
Look at this pressure that we are seeing from them. Once again, there's a fight, though. Here comes the copy. Void Prison is out. They're starting to move in. Can the Butcher go for it? There's already the Ancestor. Ancestral has been used. The Butcher.
Cocoon.
There's the Cocoon. He's just taking it down, and the disengage on the side of the ePunks with the Mighty Gust.
Yeah, that was not the best of Void Prisms to try and actually capitalize off anything there. I mean, they were also a 4v5, right? So regardless of that fact, it doesn't really matter. They still didn't find a good position, and now TBD, well in control. They don't want to corner them like Dignitas were able to corner a certain other thing.
Yeah, they're just right now just like channeling through, protecting the bell tower, and that's going to be 5 shots right there. So yeah, they are starting to take a significant lead with the level 13 talent on top of it. And we were talking about survivability on the Butcher, if you remember. Think about Summer Transference for a moment.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to kill.
Pretty difficult.
Yeah, especially if they do actually have Tyrael available with Sanctification right in the very near important spot.
And what do we see on 13 for the Butcher himself? As if he didn't have enough shields already, he's going into the spell shield now too. Bad Benny, on the other hand, has to use the Sanct to stay alive and is able, thanks to Abatha, to move away.
Was that worth it?
Fresh meat.
Fresh. Let's just say fresh meat and keep going.
Exactly. To be honest, I actually think that it was worth it for him to escape here. I mean, the cooldown is a little bit annoying, but he actually bound 3 heroes to try and take him down with escape. Yes, they got the bell tower back, but in the meantime, they did damage in the middle. There is no altar on the map just now, so I think it's totally worth it for them. They should actually have Sanct back in time.
All right, they may do. As for now, it's just going to be easy camping and easy camp being taken towards midpoint. So let's see if they can actually get anything done with those. They need to escort them, of course. Technically, Tastazar can actually shield those up if you really wanted to. Push them away, but they don't have the response. They're just looking to save the members, and it's steal. It's, oh my god.
Eldrin's might at its best. There was just a sliver left before that would have gone to ePunks, but yes, the Bees, they steal it away. Now we have the triple altar. This is where, again, the globals are gonna become incredibly valuable, especially with Falset and Abatha. And now we also have a great setup on the side of the Bees. Heroic abilities. Falset just used his Mighty Gust. One disengage is gone.
I can't believe they were able to steal that camp there. Bad Benny. He's already made a few cool plays. It was him that escaped through the portal, right? With the Eldarune's Might into the portal and juking and jiving. It was fantastic before in his previous series, and now still making the plays. That's... he could die. He's going to die.
He's going to fall.
Oh, no.
Playing with the Lambda slot. Here comes the mosh pit. The Void Fist in the back. But we already have Jaina with a follow-up and Blade with the Butcher's brand is going for it. The Butcher wants fresh meat. Look at the damage output. It's a double kill. It's a triple. They take them all apart. 16 to 14. And the Butcher is getting mad value in this game.
I can't decide if that was genius or lucky. He hit 4 people with that Ring of Frost. I can't believe what is going on in this game.
And you see when the Butcher came out of the Void Prison and was just like flexing and saying, I got this.
It's time. It's time. Then the wall seals them in. They're like, oh, please. Come on. Come on. This isn't fair.
Everybody in the Void Prison is like, wait a moment. We're going to be back in a moment. He's like, don't worry, guys. I got this. I got this.
You know what's even worse now? They
have all the bell towers.
Yes.
Glarus.
They have every single one. And now they even have Holy Ground if they want to seal more people in. Now they're going to have to deal with this. ePunks is rapidly losing this game. And this Butcher comp looks terrifying.
You know, the funniest thing to me is I was asking ADRD to please play some crazy comms when I'm casting, and the first thing that happens when we go into the lobby is like, there you go, Caldo. And then you get this game.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, coming into it, we saw their scrims, we've seen some of their practices and everything like that, and it all indicated towards this stuff that we get to witness.
All right. Level 16, adrenaline boost.
Oh, no.
Now you have a Butcher that has 40% movement speed on top of it.
You know when they said, they released Cho'Gall, they were like, yeah, he's a raid boss. This Butcher is a raid boss. Like, actually. I can't believe.
This is going to be so good. Like, he's the life. There we go. And he starts with fresh meat, but nope, this isn't this again. Is that the setup that the ePunks finally can pull off to isolate them? They try.
Sanct.
Where's the Sanct? There he goes. But they can't do too much. Again, 2 altars spawning on the map. The fight is happening. Raid boss is solo in Zeratul.
They need to win this fight, though. That's the problem here for ePunks. They're going to actually mosh forwards here, trying to get on towards 2. Charge unstoppable. Interrupts. That's where he go down. Power out of TBD here. The Butcher comp just prevails. ePunks needed to win that fight. They catastrophically lost it. And now it's 1 shot left.
It's the pain train all over again. It's like choo-choo, and the guy goes in and he wrecks everything. And this is going to be 2 all. There's 1 point left on the core. This is game. 2 Beasts Determined just annihilated the ePunks with their Butcher draft. And
You want to build a comp around a character? Do that. Build Butcher. Just keep giving him shields. Keep buffing him up. And the thing is that if you let him run rampant like that, you are going to get torn apart.
And I mean, our panel talked about the disengage potential that we had for the ePunks. To be honest, TBD, they just didn't care. They were just like, yeah, we're good with that. It's fine. And you couldn't kill him anymore. In the end, you had so much transference. You had the shields from Chastity, the shields from Abathur. You had Tyrael shields on top of it. The Butcher with the Butcher's Blade. He was just going, he didn't care anymore. He had spell shot on 13. How do you kill that beast?
Ridiculous. What a way to move on into the next match here to find out who is going to be moving into the semi-finals. If they brought that kind of flair to maybe the next series, who knows what could happen. Of course, they're going up against a team like Fnatic, who have, you know, well scouted them out and know kind of what to expect. But even when you know what to expect,
In before we have a Butcher ban.
how has there been one in competitive heroes this year?
I don't really remember. I remember when Navi played Butcher Falstad in Prague. That was kind of fun. But that had a completely different idea of play behind it.
Yeah.
So this was just basically what we usually see or what we saw in the past with an Illidan, trying to just like get massive support on that one melee assassin so that he can go through the opponent's backline. This was just like giving some support so that one hero can just basically 1 versus 5.
Scary stuff. Really scary stuff. We're going to head over to the stage with Paul, who is with Blade, the Butcher himself.
Yes, thank you very much. Some butchery going on in that game 3.
Yeah, I mean, we practiced Butcher a lot, so we were ready to play it, and it worked out.
Fresh meat works.
Yes, it does.
So that was game 3. What happened in game 2?
Well, we thought Joga would be a good pick against Tracer, but we died too much early game, and they just snowballed out of control and can't do much against like 3-level lead from ePunks, so yeah.
So into the next game, you've got a chance of going through to the semi-finals now. It's a big game though for you.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we have much respect for Fnatic, but I think we can beat them.
Yeah. Does the earlier result today help with that kind of confidence, knowing that you were quite close with them?
Yes, and now, I mean, we have 2 guys who don't have any LAN experience, and I think they're a lot more confident right now, and I think we have really good chances.
All right, well, good luck in the next game. It is our final game of the day. Before we get there, though, let's hear from Kendrick and the guys at the desk about our last match.
All right, guys. Butcher, apparently the best melee assassin in the game, confirmed here live on stream during the second regionals at Gamescom. I mean, that was insane. And as the casters pointed out, ePunks had enough disengage. They had the Void Prison, they had the Mighty Gust. Butcher didn't care.
I said last night, Butcher, one of the most underrated heroes in the game. I talk about this with Dread intentionally just so I can tilt him. He didn't believe in the power of the Butcher. I think after today, there's no doubt about it, Dread. You can't deny it anymore.
I've got bodied enough by Europe and Korea in playing Butcher to trust me, I believe in him, but he's got a place. I do think that going Cocoon really hurt ePunks, largely because they built a comp that was so disengaging that even if you managed to get a little bit, they had no team fight at that point. They had 3 heroes that were worried about disengaging, but once all those things died out, which happened pretty consistently, they just couldn't turn a fight at all. And so I really feel like they needed that Locust Swarm to try and be successful. But, I mean, Butcher in a Tyrael comp is always going to be a lot better than we saw, for instance, with the Trunda earlier today. And they really forced a lot of engages I didn't think they were going to be able to get away with.
Yeah, and the moment I've been waiting for my entire life is going to finally take place. Jay Howe analyzing a replay featuring the Butcher.
This is something I thought I'd never see, but we're about to see it for what is my first time. I'm so excited. There's the comps, but here's the lead-in. Lamb to the Slaughter is going to go out. He's going to instantly charge. Abathur joins the party. He's going to come in, and he just goes down. But more importantly, look on the far right. Jaina, as she slows down, the Ring of Frost gets off right before that Void Prison goes out, lands on 4 people, and rings and roots them all, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, we didn't kill the Butcher because we couldn't get on top of him, and then everything turns around. Force Wall. The Eldruin's right on top of it. They just blow up everybody. Their team comp, when I said before, they have to take the fight to them. They have to be able to engage with their comp, and they did just that.
I think they did a really good job of isolating that whole game. A lot of situations where if they had the whole team, I feel like they could have reacted. They almost never Like, 2Bs never got into a position where there was a full, okay, we're both dancing around an objective, now let's go head-to-head. It was always Falstad's by himself, Lamb, go. And that's what their comp thrives at, right, is exactly that situation. So they did a good job of understanding when their opponents were out of position or skirmishing in those 1v1s, because Butcher wins that trade almost all day.
So can you actually say that you can do this again? Because is it because of Towers of Doom that you're always going to have people by themselves and you're going to capitalize on that? Like, I'm still in shock. I saw it. I still don't believe it. And it's crazy.
I used to feel the same way. At BlizzCon 2015, I'm not kidding, Europe, I've said this before, Europe came in with that same style of strategy, but it was running with a Kerrigan too, and the idea was, well, why don't you just disengage against it? They blow like everything that they have, and then you can be able to take the fight after. It's very hard.
Yeah,
because of the Sanct.
Yeah.
It's very hard to be able to walk away. You force the fight that you can't get away from, and then they always win the fight because there's the sanctification underneath it. It is, I think, with only the Butcher, you can play around it a little bit better. I think that we could have seen ePunks pull out that game, but if you give a true deathball comp that can always force a fight, and there's always a Sanct behind it, it's near impossible to stop.
So guys, we've been talking a lot about how to counter a Butcher potentially, how to disengage against him, but I think we've forgotten about one thing, blinds. Do you think that might be an adequate means to sort of deal with him?
Sanct takes that away as well. That's why Tyrael is their first pick, because they got a lot of elements to it, but they could potentially replace Abathur with something else. Like, ideally not, but maybe. They could replace Butcher with Kerrigan. It would still kind of work, but Tyrael is the linchpin of that strategy.
Like, there are no counters to Butcher. Let's leave it at that.
The prime example of how key Tyrael is Dig made it to the grand finals with this approach at BlizzCon 2015, and Cloud9 proceeds to go, ban Tyrael, ban Tyrael, ban Tyrael, and they didn't win a single game because they weren't able to get the strategy, and it was very big for them. And so, I mean, it just shows how key he is to that strat.
Right. But of course, that now means, of course, that we're also going to have a different state of the tournament. I mean, ePunks, unfortunately, the German team, no longer playing in this tournament taking place in Germany. So very sad for the fans, of course, and also myself being German.
On your birthday.
But yeah, of course, ePunks out of the tournament. 2Bs get another chance, though, to prove their worth, and they're going to have to play a rematch against Fnatic, whom they lost to earlier. I mean,
They took a game off of them.
They took a game off.
So, you know, that gives you some confidence knowing that a team as good as Fnatic that you can go in and
they're not unbeatable.
2 games, maybe.
Yep. Absolutely, and of course that's going to be our final best of 3 of the day, guys. So we're almost through for day number 1, but what a ride it has been. And I'm pretty sure that you guys out there know exactly what you're talking about when you are, you know, sort of dealing with Heroes of the Storm and team comps and hero picks or whatever. So feel free to use that hashtag HGC and join the discussion to let us know who you think is going to come out on top between 2Bs and Fnatic. And we will see you back in a bit.